So many people, especially in the legal profession, are completely turned off by the idea of self-compassion. Hello, and welcome to Positive Lawyering, a series designed to help you harness science-backed insights from positive psychology to enjoy greater satisfaction and sustainable success in your life and law practice. My name is Jordana Confino, and I am delighted to be accompanying you on this journey. Today I want to talk with you about the secret superpower of high achievers, which I can promise you is almost certainly not what you would think. But before I tell you what it is, I'd love to start with a very short visualization. So I invite you to close your eyes and imagine that you just spent the past 2 weeks throwing yourself into an assignment that you really care about. But you just received some pretty negative feedback from your supervisor or client. Now, I want you to imagine, how would you respond to yourself in that situation? Specifically, what would you say or think to yourself in your head? What are the exact words that you would use? And what tone of voice would you use when you said them? What emotions would those words generate? How would they make you feel? Now, I want you to keep your eyes closed, but wipe that image from your mind and imagine that it is instead your very best friend who comes to you having received negative feedback on a professional assignment in a job they really care about. And I want you to imagine that they come to you devastated and angry at themselves, and that they just keep saying that they're stupid and clearly don't have what it takes for this job. Now, I'd like you to think about how you would respond to your friend in this situation. Imagine exactly what you would say to them, and in what tone would you say it? How would you try to make your friend feel? And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Did you notice a difference in how you responded in those two scenarios? Well, if you were harder on yourself than you were on your friend, rest assured that you're in no way unique in that. Research shows that most people tend to be much harsher on themselves when they experience setbacks or disappointments than they would be to basically anyone else in the exact same position. And there's actually a biological reason for this. It's because the presence of a threat or a stressor triggers our fight or flight response, making us more likely to both fight ourselves through self-criticism and flee from others by hiding ourselves in shame. But the problem is that both of these responses just exacerbate our suffering without actually helping us. Self-compassion, on the other hand, as counterintuitive as it may sound, and trust me, I know it sounds counterintuitive, has been shown to be a far more constructive response. So what exactly is self-compassion? Self-compassion refers to the practice of treating yourself like you would that dear friend you imagined earlier, by responding in a kind, supportive, and non-judgmental manner when you experience setbacks or hardships, rather than judging or berating yourself like so many of us are naturally inclined to do. And the research shows that unlike the self-critical fight or flight response, practicing self-compassion deactivates our threat defense system and ramps up our care system, reducing stress and increasing feelings of safety and security, as well as our ability to concentrate and perform at our highest capacity in the face of whatever stressor we're facing. Beyond this, a large and continuously growing body of research has shown that self-compassion is linked with myriad benefits, including greater happiness, lower susceptibility to depression, anxiety, and eating disorders, stronger grit, growth mindset, and resilience, and lower susceptibility to caregiver burnout. And yet, so many people, especially in the legal profession, are completely turned off by the idea of self-compassion. I get it. For years, I was one of them. Now, I don't want to even tell you just how scathing my inner monologue used to be, because I'm honestly ashamed that I could be that cruel to anyone, even if it was myself. But it was really, really harsh. And I saw absolutely no reason to change that fact, because I truly believed that my self-criticism was helping me and that self-compassion would make me lose my edge. And while I now know that I was completely wrong about that, I also know that I am not at all alone in believing it. And that's precisely why Dr. Kristen Neff, who is the leading expert in this area, has spent a ton of time researching and refuting what she calls the major myths about self-compassion. Perhaps the most pervasive and most damaging myth about self-compassion is that it'll undermine our motivation to push ourselves to do better. So many of us grew up with the belief that self-flagellation is the only way or the best way to motivate ourselves. But the research shows that that's actually not at all the case. Contrary to popular belief, our inner critics are actually not effective motivators because they undermine our self-confidence and heighten our fear of failure. When we beat ourselves up over our mistakes, we implicitly learn that it's not safe to try again, which causes us to avoid challenges and opportunities that would enable us to learn and grow. On the other hand, people who treat themselves with self-compassion have just as high personal standards. They just don't berate themselves when they fail and are thus more willing to push themselves to broaden their capabilities and to try again when they don't succeed. Equally problematic when you respond to a setback by pummeling yourself with thoughts about how bad you are. All this does is ratchet up your anxiety, deplete your energy, and actually prevent you from gleaning any useful takeaways from the situation. So how can you cultivate self-compassion? Well, there are many different ways, but a particularly powerful strategy involves practicing treating yourself like you would that dear friend that you imagined earlier. To do this, once you're done listening to this episode, call to mind an event that you've been kicking yourself over recently, or some aspect of yourself that tends to make you feel inadequate. Write down whatever thoughts come to mind when you think about that event or issue, really capturing whatever your inner critic has to say about it, scathing as it may be. Then imagine that someone who you love and support unconditionally were to come to you expressing those same sentiments about themselves. Imagine what you would say to them and write a letter to yourself expressing whatever sentiments you'd convey to that friend if they were in your shoes. When you're done, read your letter back to yourself, really allowing those words to sink in and imagining how it would feel if you truly believed them. Finally, repeat this practice regularly and strive to channel these words in real time when you notice your inner critic piping up. Now, I want to warn you that when you first start doing this exercise, there's a really good chance it will feel forced and unnatural. That is, you may find it hard to generate compassionate thoughts for yourself, and you will almost certainly not buy into them when you say them. That is 100% to be expected, and it's also okay, because I guarantee you that if you keep pushing yourself to talk back to your inner critic in this way, over time your self-compassionate voice will grow stronger as your inner critic's voice weakens, ultimately transforming the way that you relate to yourself overall. That is the power of neuroplasticity, and I promise you that it will take way less time than you might think. I hope you will join me for our next episode. Until then, take care, friend.